The president's being discharged from Walter Reed later this afternoon after the time of this broadcast being uploaded, so that means he can go back to the Oval Office where there's a lot of pens and paper, and he could, pull out that executive order memo pad, just to get that extra pen that's sitting around, use the pen that Nancy's not using, and just, pull it out, start to write, I, the president, formally send out stimulus checks. It just seems so obvious. It just seems it seems so optimal. The president is back to work. He's back to give the American people what they need. He's no longer driving around the block. He's behind in the polls. He does not have a stimulus deal with Nancy and Steve. He does not appear to be getting a deal with Nancy and Steve. So now's the time for executive order. Now's the time for the purple power to push. Big developments and big updates this afternoon, and this is Afternoon's LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me in a very jam-packed day of breaking news across the board. I have a lot of details for you about your second stimulus check and stimulus package, $1,200 checks, $2,400 checks, dependent checks, and all that and more. This video will be continuing the video right after this as well. Go to the front of the channel, subscribe. Subscribe because, hey, we're trying to reach 290,000 subscribers, and guess what? This morning's LALATE video was the most watched of this channel's ever in its first 4 hours. It ranked #1 on YouTube all morning long. So I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Also like this video because, hey, who loves you more? Let's get to the breaking details. Coming up in this report, I will give you the following details. First, the latest briefing updates about Nancy and Steve. They met today. They talked today. No deal. But I'll explain to you what they got to and what they didn't get to. Second, remote voting. I will be touching more about that really big issue that we all talked about over the weekend, remote voting. Why is the Senate not teed up to do remote voting? Third, this new CDC order will dramatically change the landscape of the economy in the upcoming months. A new CDC order minutes ago talked about ventilation in buildings and why the virus can spread in a way we never thought before. Finally, I'll be talking about the president's release from Walter Reed and how that impacts your second stimulus checks. All right, let me get to the breaking news. Speaker Nancy Pelosi met with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin telephonically today, and they continued their negotiations as they had continued over the weekend telephonically. No deal. No deal. The amount at which they are did not appear to change. That's the first thing. The person giving the update today, again, was Nancy's team. Steve is not really saying much. He does have a press secretary. She's not doing the talking about what's going on. So ultimately, this is third-party source data, which I've taught you about. This is Nancy's version of what's going on with Steve. But basically, they met. They exchanged plans, exchanged more ideas, and Pelosi's spokesperson Drew Hamill said in a tweet that Pelosi and Mnuchin plan to exchange more details about their proposals Monday. Understand that wording. Details about their plans, not new plans, just details about their plans. Will they meet tomorrow? Yes. Even if Pelosi and Mnuchin can't strike a deal, they will need to craft a plan to get it through the House and Senate, and especially the Republican-led Senate. They will continue to talk tomorrow. Mnuchin is currently at 1.6, 1.7. Pelosi is at 2.2. And the battlegrounds still remain the same. John Barrasso, Republican out of Wyoming, said there needs to continue the discussions, and I hope we can get a solution. This is wonderful. This is a Republican, and this is a senator in the House, in the building that's now shut down. It goes way beyond what we need to think about to fight coronavirus. He's talking about Nancy's bill, how it has pork in it, which we all sort of know. What's important to understand as we hear at Monday afternoon is that the reason why this video, Morning's LALATE, ranked #1 is because I dispelled a lot of false narratives that are all over places, and I'm not going to say where they are, but they're all over places. The first false narrative, one, that the bill passed in the House last Friday and that you have a law and you should go in on celebrating, get drunk. No. No, the House means much of nothing. The House is only one step of several steps to get a bill into a law. Only a bill, I'm only a bill, sit on Capitol Hill. Cue the video from Schoolhouse Rock. And you can learn that if you don't know that already before you start making YouTube videos saying, celebrate, we have a bill, we have a law. You don't have a law. Second, there were false narratives out there that Nancy gave a counter proposal yesterday, or Nancy was giving a counter proposal today. Also untrue. I saw the transcript. You could see the transcript from CBS Morning Face of the Nation, not the Kylie Jenner show, Face of the Nation, Face the Nation. Nothing about beauty and makeup and Fenty Beauty. No, this is about facing the nation and, explaining why we don't have our stimulus package. She faced the nation and she had no explanation. And she did not say she was giving another version of her proposal. Third, there was a false narrative out there that there's going to be a final push ultimately, and it will happen on Tuesday or Wednesday. That's just opinion. That's not fact. I could say that as well. I think everything's going to get done by Friday. That's my opinion. That's not fact. So I really appreciate that all the viewers of this channel are really ramping up and being very focused on what's true, a fact, opinion, and source data. And certainly if Nancy says something to you, you have an opinion about that as well. Let me go into Nancy's opinions in the last, 3 days? Friday, she used the word imminent deal by Sunday. Second, she said we're going to get it done hopefully by Sunday. Third, she told the airlines, don't fire anyone, we're going to get a deal. Her and Steve, well, they fired them. They're like, I don't believe you either. So Nancy has given false narratives of optimism. The Temple of Doom is actually now Steve Mnuchin's house, because Steve Mnuchin notoriously would always tell you, oh, the deal is going to be done by tomorrow. He said that to you like 10, 20 times by now since the month of July. So that's that. Second, the Senate. Next false narrative, which was really bad, that the president can order the Senate to vote on your stimulus package. Yeah, that's not our Constitution. Maybe that's another country, not this nation's country, not this country's Constitution. No, our Constitution does not say the president can order anyone to vote. I'm sure he wishes it would. It says the president can order the Senate back into session. He's not going to do that because there's 3 senators who are sick, and that would look absolutely ridiculous. But let's assume he does something ridiculous, like drive around the corner, with Secret Services in an unventilated armored vehicle. Let's assume he orders the Senate back into session. That doesn't mean much of anything, because Mitch ultimately decides what bill he wants to put up for a vote, or members of his Republican Party. And if they don't want to put up a bill that's at $2 trillion, which they've categorically said they will not for upwards of 7 months, guess what? They're not voting on Nancy's $2 trillion bill anytime soon. And they probably would not do it on anything, and now this is opinion, they would probably not call for a vote for anything in excess of 1.8, 1.9. Chuck Grassley, second leading Republican in the Senate, says, you go above 1.5, you're losing Republicans. We're not going to vote for this. So there we go. Remote voting. I detailed that over the weekend. Let me explain it to you again as well. I love all the great comments. My kids that are kindergarten are doing Zoom, and if they can do kindergarten Zoom, then Chuck and Mitch can figure out how to do remote Zoom. That's assuming that Chuck and Mitch have an IQ above a kindergartner. But, well, the problem is the following. The Senate rules require that they be in person. And to change the Senate rules to say they can do it remotely, they have to come back in person. So ultimately, if they're not in person, they're not going to get a change. That's why I started the Purple Power push over the weekend, which is to urge the president to order the Senate to do remote voting. Of course, Steve Mnuchin actually said it really well when asked by Becky Quick on CNBC over a week ago, do you have the Republicans on board if you have a deal with Nancy? He said, let's just first get a deal with Nancy. AKA, I don't have the senators on board. And B, I'm not even going to bridge that discussion until I have a deal with Nancy. Third, as detailed over this weekend and explained now again, Steny Hoyer, my favorite name of all time, House Majority Leader, said in April that, maybe we could do remote voting in the future. This is an emergency situation. We ought to have an alternative. I want to assure the American people it's being worked on very hard. Yeah, steady. I appreciate you want to assure us. How about you assure us where our multiple stimulus checks were in the spring? Assure us why FPUC won't expire in July. Assure us that we're going to get enhanced unemployment benefits in September. Assure us that we're getting all these wonderful things. Yeah, you've been assuring us too much. It's time to assure someone else. Uh, Maybe assure yourself the unemployment line. That is that. Next, these statements of false optimism, I need to sort of weigh in. I love to be positive. That's the purple power, staying positive. But we're also not uh, rose-colored glasses. We're not naive. And so when Steve Scalise says, "Oh, the president's working for your American to get a stimulus package approved," or the president says, "Oh, I'm working to get a stimulus package approved," there's a problem. You can work to get a stimulus executive order signed, but to get a stimulus package approved, what are you working? You're calling Mitch on the phone and say, "Order the damn Senate back open." If it's not that, you're not going to get anything passed by a bunch of Republicans who don't want to open the door for you. It's sort of like going to a clearance at your favorite department store, and they're supposed to open at 9 o'clock, and you're there, and they still haven't opened by 9:15. And you're like, "Open the damn door," and they're like, "No, I just don't feel like it." "Well, I'm going to call your boss." "Well, tough luck, because I'm still not going to open the door for you." That's sort of where we are. So the president could get someone to open the door at the Senate would be really good. Airlines. People always ask me, how about those airlines? I think the airlines at this point have I think they have sort of voodoo dolls of Nancy and Steve in the refrigerator, because the airlines literally had said everything negative they could say about Nancy and Steve and Republicans and Democrats and the entire congressional body over the weekend. They said, this is a bunch of nincompoops. Everything that you've said about them, they've now said about them. And yes, if you've wondered, because you've asked me, what happened to that deadline? They ignored it. Congress ignored it. I mean, that's what Congress is really good at. Just ignoring everyone's deadline. Just, when their check is in the mail, their salary check as a congressman, oh God, if it's late for an hour, oh, it's a national emergency. But, your deadlines, oh, yeah, who cares about your deadlines? They're very good at letting deadlines run out. And, sadly to say that when we had a major emergency of national significance for this economy, of hundreds of thousands of people sadly losing their job in the airline industry and the ancillary industries impacted by the airlines, what did they do, the Congress? Nothing. And Nancy also actually had the audacity to say, "Don't fire them," after they had already fired them. It's sort of like, Nancy, you're like 2 days late with that press statement. CDC, I got to go over this one. This one is just, it impacts so many of my viewers. I know a lot of you love to go to wherever you go. Some of you may have small businesses. Some of you may like to stay in shape. Some of you like to go to Walmart or go to Costco or something like that. Well, a new report today says that the CDC is deeply concerned. It says that limited uncommon circumstances show that people who were in unventilated areas could contract COVID-19. A new report today by CDC says that airborne transmission of the virus is now confirmed. In these instances, transmission occurred in poorly ventilated and enclosed spaces that often involved activities that caused behavior breathing, like singing and exercise. So this is really good news. This is not like a Costco. This is not like a Walmart. This is like a CrossFit, a very small gym that's about 300 square feet, where there's 20 treadmills on top of each other, and everyone's going 3 and 2 and 1, and then they're spinning, and they say, "Okay, change station." That is what they're saying. This is not good. Very small spaces for singing and exercises. It is very common for the disease to spread. In these instances, transmission occurred in very poorly and enclosed spaces that involve activities with heavy breathing. Such environments and activities may contribute to the buildup of virus-carrying particles. Oh, sounds delicious. Yuck. Bill Schaefer, an infectious disease specialist, said the new guidelines is largely in line with what science industry has been setting for a while. Some cars do get through on the side street, but the highway transmissions are closed, and within those closed spaces for periods of time longer than 15 minutes, people standing within 3 to 5, 6 feet of each other are a problem. Have your air handling system reviewed and see how efficient it is? Boy. So do you want to go back to the gym? Oh, boy. Donald Trump coming out of Walter Reed tonight, feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID. Just be afraid of Joe Biden. Donald Trump is really far behind in the polls. I mean, he's so far behind in the polls that he can't see the last time Nancy Pelosi had a new hairstyle. He's like 10%, 14%. I mean, he's way back there. Now, understand the polls were wrong last time, but that's when the races were really close. It is reported that the media is upset because I got into a secure vehicle to say thank you to the many fans and supporters who were standing outside the hospital for many hours and even days to pay their respect to the president. If I didn't do it, media would say rude. Okay. I'm not going to say rude. I'm just going to say, hey, dude, sign this damn stimulus checks. I'm going to call you as rude as I can call you if you don't sign those executive orders. And I think most of the viewers agree as well. Let me go get to some of your 1,800 comments to yesterday about a president who's worried about being rude. You're only rude when you don't sign our stimulus checks. Betty Baldwin, we need the money fast and in the hurry. Johnny Mack, I wish everyone had this dreaded disease to get well. Marie, if kindergartners can do schooling from home, why can't these adults? Sound familiar? Anna Rains, why are these people being paid? I love that question. I get that every day. Why is the senators being paid if the Senate's closed? You know, they should be on unemployment and get paid their $300 a week, which is all Mitch wants to pay them. Or, you know, if those other people don't want to pay anything. My child is staying with me. You can't trust that they have our children's interests at best. Hope, Nancy. Aaron, Jordan, at this point, the American people are going to need both the executive order and legislative stimulus checks. John Milano, it's time to clean it all out. I love Aaron Jordan's comment. He talks about what I spoke on 14 about, and Morning's LALATE, which is there's an economic concern. And the economic concern, you already know. The problem is that these politicians don't understand it. You needed a stimulus check for every month that you were on lockdown. You were on lockdown in March and April and May, at least. So you never got a stimulus check for all those months on lockdown. Then those checks were to provide you relief to survive the lockdown. They didn't give it to you. They gave money to businesses to survive the lockdown. Okay. Now that we survived the lockdown, you know, going through our savings and things like that, then what happens? Well, the purpose of the second stimulus package, the second stimulus check, is to give stimulus to stimulate the economy. It's not to give salary raises to make Washington executives and heads real rich. It's to stimulate the economy. The problem is that the economy is now facing another round of lockdowns, state by state. And with that, this stimulus package, which was to fix the rebound of the economy 3 months ago, is not going to cover a new lockdown. And ultimately, if Nancy's betting is that everything is going to go Biden's way in a few weeks and we'll have a new legislative body in January, well, by February, the economy will be in a tank because you did not even give enough stimulus to, well, you didn't give any stimulus, potentially under Nancy's scenario. And two, the stimulus you're proposing is not a stimulus to survive another lockdown. It's a stimulus to rebound from the prior lockdown. It's not good. And I don't understand why these people don't realize this, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. Both of them are at issue. Of the $3 trillion or $3.4 trillion Nancy originally proposed, 95% of it should be going to the American citizen. It should not be going to the federal government because we need to survive another lockdown. John Milano, time to get them all out. I hope everyone still stays on book with John Milaro's comment. We have to get them out. Don't sit around and do nothing. Kathleen Hammett, vote them out. Really what we should do is executive order, give us stimulus, not money for a vote. Missy Daniel, come on, Purple Power. Let's tag him on executive order. Amen, Missy Daniel. Carol Tuttle, she isn't doing her job. I'm voting her out, period. John Milano, they spend money on stuff all year long, but now they're cheap. Oh, I love that. He's really on point today, John. Gio Rose, 59. We're never going to get out of debt, so get it done, Trump. Sign the executive order. Amy, this whole thing is sad. Willie Tate, I'm not sure what's going on. If they got the money, why can't someone help us? It's so obvious. I don't know. Stephanie, if it's so severe, why release him tomorrow? None of this makes any sense. I could have an entire channel about him and his medical condition. I just don't have enough space in this channel to cover all that craziness. Karen, my prayers are for the president. I pray for him as well, and his family and his staff in the Secret Service. Amen. Holly Jacobson, executive orders need to be final, and the only option is full out of nuts in the House, Senate. Janet, I was just thinking that it was a false statement that when the president made the comment that he had the money just to repurpose. So when are we waiting for it to happen? Well, no, it's not a false statement. We're waiting for it to the minute. Diane, I don't think they're ever going to do stimulus checks. That's why they're stalling. I'm very upset. No, you just watch. Nancy will do it in February, and it'll be a horrible bill, and it'll be, all money going to the government, no money to you. The economy will be in a mess. You just watch what she's going to do. That's her idea. Richard Carnes, the economy is tinkering on the brink, and it seems like no one in Washington cares. I mean, I've been talking about the financial cliff since July. I mean, we're supposed to be over the financial cliff and crashed by then now, and, full Mr. Peanut over the side of the hill at this point. And yet these people don't think there is a financial cliff, some of them. Richard Potter, they simply don't care. Very well said. Coming up next is a continuation of this video on hazard pay. I know the title's hazard pay. I know it's EIDL as well, but I have big developments on more about your second stimulus check, so stay tuned for that. Go to the front of the channel, subscribe. Subscribe because really we are doing incredible work here as a team, as a family, as a bunch of people that really help one another, and I've seen on social media just a wonderful, wonderful group of people. Also like this video. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay FLA for more.